Okay, fast fashion, eco fashion, sustainable fashion, conscious fashion. There's just too many terms out there that we need to deal with now. And it's strange to me how new things keep getting thrown our way. Take the example of the food industry. First, we were told sugar is bad, then fats were bad, then came vegan diet, keto diet, paleo diet. It's just a whole bunch of information that is so confusing we don't know what to do anymore. And at the end of the day, the answer was simple. Just follow a balanced diet, right? And it's the same with sustainability. Sustainability is so innate in all of us that we don't need to be talking about it. It comes naturally to us. It's just we've forgotten what it means. Now, India culturally has always been sustainable. To think about the most basic definition of what sustainability is, it's the avoidance of the depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance. What that simply means is what you take from nature, you give back and keep everything in balance and everyone's happy. India being, like I was saying, India has always been culturally sustainable. We have the culture of hoarding, where we keep everything whatever we get, we keep it in our cupboards. My mom would, for every gift boxes we would get, she would store the gifts, the gift boxes, and use it for something else. Or we're very thrifty, where we reuse and give our old clothes to someone else. I would wear all my clothes from, my cousins would pass it down to me, or I would give my old clothes to my other cousins, or our old t-shirts would be turned into kitchen rags. And we led a very simple life. Like even the first proponent of sustainable fashion was Mr. Gandhi, and he used to make his own fabric. He would spin it on the loom. We are one of our water consumption is the least compared to the other developed countries. And we were very happy. Like as Indians, we've been very happy living a simple life. Being in sync with nature. Even our texts, like the Ayurveda, the yoga, they all preach about living a simple life and not wanting too many materialistic possessions. So how did we lose our way? What went wrong? Um, with the advent of industrialization, there was a boom in the economy. More people were engaging with each other. Trade was picking up. People were consuming a lot more. Many brands were coming up, enticing people to buy more. And the great thing about some of the best advertisements you see is they're very simple, but they'll influence you in a way where you just have no control over yourself. You want that product, you want it now, and that's it. And it keeps businesses happy, it keeps economies growing, it makes investors happy, and it's all good. So this brings me to our main subject today, which is fashion. I come from fashion. I love fashion. I grew up reading Vogue. I wanted to become a designer. I did end up doing footwear design. And it's a very exciting and a very glamorous field. Today you have many fast fashion brands that I'm sure most of you go to and most of you are wearing right now. We love these brands because they speak to us, and it's something we like being a part of something bigger than us, and it's the stories they sell that really resonate with us. And then you have these brands use fashion influencers, fashion bloggers to really make it even more exciting, and you see someone you like or someone you look up to wearing something from a brand and you want it immediately. Even so, just like campaigns, big companies create campaigns. You walk across a store, you go to any mall, you see huge hoardings, and you want them. You want those pieces the way they've been styled, the way they've been designed. It's something you can imagine yourself wearing, and it's appealing, it's attractive. Sustainability, on the other hand, is seem to be boring, or that's what it's sort of. That's the image people have of sustainability. That it's all vegan food. It's people hippies wearing jute clothing, and it's boxy. It's very simple, too basic, not that exciting. Well, the two don't have to be mutually exclusive, and that's what I'm here to tell you. There are brands out there, a case in point being Allbirds. It's one of my favorite brands. They make 100% sustainable sneakers out of merino wool, out of sugarcane, out of natural rubber. It's completely biodegradable, and it looks really good. Like some of the biggest tech giants in Silicon Valley are their consumers. Then the second example would be of Reformation. This is my new favorite brand that's also US based. Reformation is known for creating some really attractive styles for women. They celebrate femininity, and they celebrate the environment as well. So for every piece of clothing that they make, they tell you how much water has been used, what kind of carbon emissions were released per item of clothing, which we'll come to in a little bit. So the reason why we are even talking about any of this, why I'm speaking about sustainability in fashion, why these two are so important, is because every single piece of clothing you buy today has a story, and it's not that great. There's a dark side to the textile industry, which more and more consumers are now becoming aware of because of all the information that's out there. And it's something that we don't even think about the t-shirt or the pair of jeans we wear, who's behind them, who's making them, how much water was used, how many resources were utilized. And this idea really came to me when I watched a documentary about 3 years ago. It's called True Cost. It focused on the working conditions of garment makers in factories that were making clothes for fast fashion brands across the developing countries like India, Bangladesh. And it was it was a grim reality of how our clothes are made, and how when you see these exciting campaigns and you see fashion bloggers looking really cool, you don't see the people who've made the clothes. You don't see the garment workers who are who are overworked, who are not being paid fairly. There was, in fact, like a huge disaster that happened in Bangladesh where 1,200 workers died because the entire building, which was making clothes for all the top fast fashion brands, collapsed. And the reason for that was the factory owner did not care for the safety of his workers. He cared more about providing the cheapest clothing to any of these brands. Because how brands work is they go to the vendor who will offer them the best price, and then brands add their margins to it, and the bigger the margin, the more money the brand makes. And you think you're buying something so cheap for 500 rupees, the margin on that is like almost 100%. So the garment worker is being paid 2 rupees for a t-shirt you're wearing for 500 rupees, which you're going to throw in 3 months or 6 months' time. So the unseen cost of making your garment is very high. And most of these clothes you discard within a span of 6 months or whatever, goes up in landfills, goes into landfills. And landfills are basically wide areas that have been provided to people to actually discard waste. It was fine up till a certain point where there was not enough wastage being generated, but now it's reached a point where people are throwing way too much, not using it for too long a time, and that's causing like an ecological imbalance. In fact, the statistics are so bad, and I don't mean to like make this sound really grim, but that is the reality. The statistics are so bad that in the UK alone, about 235 million items of clothing were discarded in 1 year, and 1.2 billion tons of carbon emissions were released. Now, carbon emissions are an important sort of term to know right now because we're talking about global warming, climate change, and I'll come to that. So the reason why we should care at all about any of this, why I'm even here standing having this conversation with you, is because we've reached a point where we've used up our resources to its maximum capacity. Like, if we have to survive, if Earth has to survive, we cannot use any more than we are using right now because the global temperatures are rising and we're not feeling the direct impact, or maybe we are, but we are not aware of it. If you've been noticing, the monsoons in Bombay lasted until November. The glaciers are melting. There are floodings happening all across the world. And it's not just, I'm not saying it's only because of the fashion industry, it's because of a lot of other industries that have a role to play. But yes, the fashion industry is the second largest polluter in the world, be it a polluter of water, be it air pollution, be it some of these two for now. And the emissions being released are at unprecedented levels. And people feeling the impact of those emissions are the ones who have no role to play in this. Like, they are the most vulnerable. We don't see them, but they're feeling the direct impact of climate change. As I was saying, that most of your fast fashion clothes are made in developing countries because that's where the labor cost is cheap. People are willing to work more for less because they don't have a choice. And the textile industry pollutes like everything, like all the dyes that are used in your clothes go into the rivers. The cotton that is produced, cotton takes up a lot of water. So like your one t-shirt takes around 2,000 plus liters of water, just one cotton t-shirt. And that is because we're using all the available water resources, there's not enough drinking water being left for people who need it the most. So 1.5 trillion liters of water is used by the fashion industry every single year. 23 kgs of greenhouse gases are generated for 1 kilo of fabric produced. Now, this is like all statistics. The statistics keep changing, but what you need to understand is emissions are, okay, let me just give you a little science behind very quickly, what emissions are. It's basically everything around you, including yourself. We are all made up of carbon. And we are all releasing carbon dioxide mainly. And then and so in the ancient times when we were taking anything from earth, because we do need earth for making stuff, right? Like for food or for making fabrics or for anything, we depend on earth for it. So whatever we were taking, we were making stuff out of it, wearing it, throwing it back into the earth, and then whatever emissions were being released would be absorbed by the available trees and the surrounding ecosystem. So everything was in balance. Whatever was coming was going back into earth again. We were living in harmony. Now what's happened is because of not only fast fashion, but because of over-consumerism, over-consumption, people want things instantly. We want more of everything. What's happened is it's created an imbalance. So we are throwing out much more than Earth can take. So all these extra carbon emissions that are being released are being absorbed. So like carbon dioxide absorbs heat, and that creates a greenhouse effect. And that greenhouse effect is what keeps Earth warm, and which is why we can survive. But the excess of carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases is sucking more heat and it's trapping more heat. And that's creating global warming. So you can connect the dots later. It's fashion industry, more wastage, more stuff coming out into the atmosphere, We are cutting down trees also to make way for infrastructure, to build roads, to build metros or whatever. And that's not leaving enough room for the planet to survive in the way it was meant to survive. So what's the solution? We cannot stop buying. That's a fact. We will not stop, wearing clothes or buying things. And so there is no one solution to it. Sustainability can mean different things to different people. For me, right now, it's more about buying, say, clothes that are made more mindfully, where people are well paid, that are made out of natural materials. For some, it could be carrying your own bags or carrying your own bottle, not using plastic. And there's a new term I'd like to familiarize you guys with, and you should look into this later. It's something that's been gaining momentum in the last few years. It's called a circular economy. So up until now, we've been living in a linear economy, which is you take something, you make something out of it, and you throw it. And that system is not really working. Imagine the amount of products each and every single one of us buys from your cosmetics. Like one person has an average of like 15 cosmetic products from your healthcare, from your clothing, shoes, home appliances, laundry, everything. And there are 7 billion people on this earth. So every single person is buying that many products, throwing it, is just sitting there in the landfills, not being, like some of it gets recycled when most of it can get recycled because there's no sort of way to do it. And it's just like, it's not a very viable, sustainable option. In fact, the economy is losing billions of dollars every year by wasting so much. Whereas the circular economy, what it proposes is you take something from nature, you make something out of it, you use it till the end of its life cycle, till you can't use it anymore, you throw it, and then you use it again. For example, if you buy, say, you buy a L'Oreal product and you buy like 2, 3 shampoos, conditioners, deep conditioner, serums, whatever, and you take everything from them and you give it back to L'Oreal, and L'Oreal breaks down all the plastic, the bottles that every single customer is sending their way, and they make another packaging out of it. And then you use it, they sell it back to the customer, and you keep using that instead of making new bottles every single time. So that's a way, like you save time, you save money, you save the planet, you save a lot of things. It's a win-win. Wow, sorry. Okay. So a lot of big companies are already moving towards this. There's Nike, the H&M is also having they're hosting Circular Innovation Challenge where they're inviting people to come up with solutions to, in this case, like break down their shoes and make a new shoe out of it. There is a company called AgroLoop Biofiber that is making fiber out of wasted crops. So be it banana peels, be it hemp seed oil, the leftover fiber that's left in the hemp fields. There's sugar cane. And now since we live in a digital economy, we're moving towards, a lot of brands are innovating with AI-based platforms to find clothes that truly fit a person. So there's little room left for any kind of wastage when it comes to, making a pattern or, you have to understand that when you make a pair of clothing, there's a lot of wastage that goes into making the fabric, into making the garment, because there's trials and errors in the pattern. You don't like something, you throw it, you cut it out. There's wastage of paper, there's wastage of materials, and this like platforms like this where you just like 3D scan a body and you make a garment exactly to the right fit of that very consumer, it leaves little room for any of those things. So it's still in a trial stage, but how far it'll go and how much it can scale is yet to be seen. Okay, so how do we become sustainable in this day and age? It's a challenge, but it's not something that's impossible. Every single thing you do in your daily life, be it how much you like, but if you take a rickshaw to to a place that's like a kilometer away, instead of that, if you just walk, you'll burn more calories, you'll burn less carbon emissions than carrying your own bag. Simply carrying your own bag and doing away with plastic altogether is a great way to contribute. Buying less of anything. Like, do you really need like 3 shades of lipstick or like 10 shades of nail paint? Just being mindful about how things work and how much you're putting out there, and also educating yourself every single day about what sustainability is what's going to empower you. Like, my standing here and telling you any of this may or may not have an impact, but you willingly educating yourself and understanding the reality and accepting that we are all part of the same ecosystem. We all live on the same planet. There is no other planet to go to, and we all have to survive here. So should we do it together, or should we like not care at all? Like, that's for you to decide. And every little action of yours has a consequence. I already explained that with the images of the polar bear and the kid, and I can show you a lot more. But every little action of yours, even today, this very instance when you're sitting here, you're thinking. Or like tomorrow, if you walk into a store and you make a purchase, that's going to have a consequence. So make sure it's a good one. Thank you.